It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe is with us in the booth. Everybody's licking their wounds from the holiday. I'm sure that we'll hear something about that later. Hopefully you people are good after the Christmas holiday. You're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, 790 The Score. Let us know how you did. Let us know how Santa Claus was in Heated Hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. Leave us a message 24/7. Joe will pick one and play it. Or you can email us on our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Got a good one. We're going to go in Weekly Rewind or Pat's Preview. It's up to Joe which title it's going to be. We'll talk a little bit of we want to talk about, they played yesterday, right? The Chargers. So we want to talk about what's going to happen after the last game of the season. What's going to happen moving forward. So stick around for that. And of course, Catone's comments coming off the holiday season. Let's see what the hell he brings to the table today. And Yankees versus Red Sox. Going to talk a few moves. Got some Marks has some thoughts on it. And go PC Minute. Talk about Providence College. Hi, guys.
Hey.
What's going on, guys? Was Santa Claus good to you?
Yeah. You know what? How about you guys?
I caught Santa down drinking all the eggnog. You know, he had the shirt open, just lay there like he's like, I give up.
Yeah, Santa Claus. By the time he squeezed his fat ass back up the chimney, I swear to God, I was ready to dip into the bourbon mock drinks over there.
Listen. That's why I call it the silly season. You know, we still have to get through New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, but it's the silly season. That's why I say it all the time.
Well,
News.
You know?
Well, happy holidays to all of you. Joe, is it Past Preview or are we doing Weekly Rewind? What do we want titling it?
That's Preview.
Excellent. Let's get to it.
Pets Preview.
That's how discombobulated I am. Okay?
You don't even know what day it is, by the way. You know?
So listen, they got one game left, right, Mark?
Yep.
In the season, that Buffalo. And,
we're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to the playoffs, another sport, So I want to talk a little bit about, coaching, some about the player stuff and see who goes, who stays. I mean, there's a lot of talk going on, Mark, right now surrounding Mayo. Should he go? Should he stay? Did he save his job with that Buffalo game, that 24-21 loss to Buffalo where they showed up pretty well? But you have some thoughts on that too, as to, was it them or was it us? Which team?
And if you go back and watch the tape, Chris, it was definitely them, but we'll get into it.
But go ahead, comment on that quickly.
So listen, if I'm running this team, I'm getting rid of Mayo. I'm letting a new coach come in and pick their entire staff, get rid of all these guys. You had leftovers from Belichick, you had Troy Brown, you had different. Everybody goes. Get rid of Elliott Wolf. Get rid of Groh. Get rid of all that whole 3/4 of that front office are still leftovers from Bill. Get rid of the place. Empty it out. You want to start fresh? Then start fresh. Then do it. But don't dip one toe in, one toe out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Mayo needs to go, Chris. Mayo needs to go. Listen, you want to talk about a team should be improving, or at least show some sign of improvement, or maybe even the coach show some sign of maturity, improvement. He's starting to get it. You've been talking about situational football since training camp. You said that that's going to be the thing that's going to hurt this guy. Well, guess what? In the game against Buffalo, everyone's talking about, did they save his job? They played good. They played one of the best teams in the league. But listen, Buffalo had just got done playing Kansas City, San Fran, Detroit, the Rams. Do you honestly think that they were up for that game? They were looking past that game. They were just going through the motions, get a victory, and get the hell out of there like Brady used to do when we were in our prime. That's all they were doing. Okay, that's all they were doing. But Mayo, situational football, Chris, he blows 2 timeouts because they're going to get delay of game penalties. So he's calling timeouts because they're going to get delay of game penalties. At that point of the season, you're still calling timeouts because you can't get the play call right. You can't get it in. And don't blame the rookie quarterback either. It's a shit show on that sideline. You went to the Arizona game. You saw it. Then Mapu in the end zone. The only thing that saved him was his hand fell over the goal line. I don't care if he intercepted the ball. That's situational football. Kneel down on it. Take it at the 20. Do what you got to do. No, he's running around back there dancing like he's in the ballet. Belichick would have went over that 50 times with them. That's what you do when you intercept the ball and you get the ball to 20. They have no situational awareness. Their situational football is terrible. If you think this guy's going to get any better next year, when it's week 17, 18, he's still doing the same crap that he did from the first week as a coach, get rid of him. It was a mistake. Get rid of him. Mistake.
Well, I'll tell you, you're not the only one who thinks that way, because there's a lot of people after that game, that Buffalo game, they were giving him loads of props. Phil Perry. I
don't know what these guys watched, Chris. The wide receiver Shakur, before you play Perry, drops the ball in the end zone. Oh, Jones made a good play on it. Jones didn't do anything. Okay, the ball's in his hands. He drops it. There's a ball up the sidelines in his hands. He drops it inside the 20. That's 2 more touchdowns they should have scored, which would have made it, 38? There's a ball in the seam. The same receiver drops. He would have ran for 30, 40 yards. Those are 3 plays by one receiver who had a bad game. It would have resulted in at least 14 more points for Buffalo. So I want to hear that. Now the score's 38. So is the game actually close? No, it's not. You would have been thrilled if he made those catches, but we'll save that for Pat's Nation.
All right, Joe, let's hear Perry.
Phil, what did you think about the overall coaching and play calling from this game?
Again, I'll start with the players and I'll start with the turnovers, but I think there are a handful of decisions that are leading me to question them after the fact. And again, Mayo, I think took questions on just about all of these situations, but they had the questionable, in my opinion, a 4th and 6 punt with about 8 minutes left. It felt like there just wasn't enough time for them to be able to give the ball back to Josh Allen. And I know they played well defensively in this game, and maybe that's what they were thinking. But that's a situation where, boy, you onside kick. They had 3 timeouts left. Don't you want to try to pin them deep? And if you can stop them back-to-back plays and call timeouts, you might be able to get the football back in decent position to go put points on the board. No timeout after Keon White. This was about 4 minutes left in the game, or a little bit more than that. Keon White tackles Josh Allen on a 3rd down, and they don't call timeout.
Yeah, so that was Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston talking about that after the game. Like I said, so Mark, when I looked at this as a 2-half situation, the first half of this game, it looked to me like these guys were, and we'll talk now. Let's talk all the coaches here: Mayo, AVP, Covington, doesn't matter. Okay, they looked like they were all coaching for their job, and we're talking about the Buffalo game because this is the illustration, because everybody keeps talking about how he saved his job with that game, So to me, they were coaching for their jobs. You could see it. And like their attention was there. I mean, Alex Van Pelt's play calling was pretty good. Pretty good it was, I will say. Although the jackass, he won't stop putting all 5 guys into the pass pattern, and he at least keeping one in to chip and help Jacobs, who's a friggin' train wreck. But then in the second half, it just reverted back. And those are key situations. Those are key situations that those are key situations in games like Mark's mentioning, Perry's mentioning about you run a fake punt on your own 20. A lot of balls, fine, you do it. But then you punt again. Don't punt again then. I mean, what do you like? Things
Chris,
like that.
Did they revert back or did Buffalo just make adjustments? And as been the case all season long.
Yeah, I think that's probably more the case.
You just can't adjust. You haven't adjusted all year. When teams make adjustments all year long, you don't adjust. So Buffalo made some adjustments on defense. They saw what AVP was doing.
I think Buffalo was played better a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Buffalo came out flat. They looked terrible. Allen's dealing with something over there. He's dealing with something on both hands now over there.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because defensively, the Patriots played a good game. Well, wait a minute. Allen was banged up, hurt, and I know at some times during the game they had Schooler in there to watch him and
They
to follow him, right? However, do you know how many I counted, Chris, 7 times, and that was just off the top of my head. There was probably more than that. Allen could have ran for 15, 20. There was nobody in front of him, Chris, if he wanted to take off. But I think he's banged up. They told him, stay in the pocket, get rid of the ball. You're not going to get hit. You're not going to just – so he wasn't running the ball, Chris, because a typical Josh Allen, those would have been 20-yard gains.
Yeah.
And he just didn't do it. But it was there. That's not typical Allen. So I don't want to hear, the defense played good. No, Allen strategically stayed in the pocket to protect himself because he's already banged up, Chris. That had nothing to do with the New England defense. Go back and watch the tape, Chris. You'll see it. I'm like, what the heck? Oh, my God.
Listen, I'll push back a little bit about the fact that the Schooler, I thought, had a good game. The safeties had a good game.
He did, Chris, but there was at least 7 times that he could have ran. I don't care who was spying him.
Right, but when you go and look at the overhead and you see a couple of those plays, you see the safety there. You see the safety spying him. He's there. He's a little bit further downfield, but he's there. So, I mean, it was a good scheme as far as what to do with Allen, as far as I'll give them props on that they put a good scheme together.
Overreacting.
They didn't adjust it.
I think people overreacting.
Buffalo adjusted offensively to some of that. They did in the second half, and Covington didn't now. Like, in other words, if you're going to spy him, fine. Then in the second half, okay, use that guy for pressure. Then bring pressure at him. If he's not taking advantage of those lanes because he's worried about that spy, well, then open that up for some blitz packages and things like that. But look, it's just the same. It's just more of the same. And you're right. The bottom line to me is Mayo's just not there. He's not there yet. And situationally, now maybe he's going to go to Belichick school in the offseason and learn how to deal with game situations. I don't know if he gets better or not. But right now, it's not good. And if you have coaches out there that you like, and you got guys that can bring in that you think are veteran that can Vrabel, people like that, then you got to do it because you're wasting the kids. You're going to waste the first 3 years of Drake May if you keep doing this. Because I guarantee you next year, we're going to be talking about the same stuff. We're going to be talking about the top 2 picks, top 2 pick in the draft, top 3, maybe the top 5, whatever. The point is, it's not going to get dramatically better. And it's not going to get dramatically better if you don't put the players on the field. Now, I want to go above them. I mean, we've talked about the owner on this team. We've talked about the fact that is the owner really backing up his words about how invested he is in the team and how I'm not talking about building lighthouses, okay? I'm talking about an investment in the team.
He's building facilities, Chris, back practice. He's doing,
great. He should. They're 10 years too late doing that. The point is, are you investing in your management? Are you investing in guys that can put the talent on the field? Elliott Wolf, Mark, I don't understand why they're so protective of this guy. They're talking about, well, let's bring in somebody above him that can be the hard ass. No, how about you bring in a better GM that's supposed to do that, that's supposed to drop the hammer on the coach and everybody else when stuff's not going the right way. Elliott, I don't know what he's done in his career to warrant this much respect that he's getting from ownership, he's getting from coaches. Look at the moves he's made in this offseason. Okafor quit. Osborne, not even on the team anymore. He brought in three right tackles to play left tackle. He started the season with no left tackle.
Yeah.
Okay. He re-signed.
And then what about Groh? What about Groh, Chris? Groh's big thing, his claim to fame. He spoke.
He's the college guy.
But he exuded about Thornton when he drafted him, about his speed and this and that. Right. And you can't coach speed. Thornton stinks.
Right. And then he went ahead and drafted Polk instead of McConkey. I'm not even talking about trading up for your guy, Ryan Thomas. I'm talking about just picking in the spot
sitting
you're
where
on.
you were. Yep, sitting where you were. They traded back, Chris, out of the pick to get McConkey and took Polk.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, in other words, they were so the college scouting isn't good enough. The pro scouting is not good enough for free agents. Okay, and you can go down the line of people. I mean, it's mediocre stuff. And if you didn't want Bill anymore, If you wanted that guy, that hard ass above everybody, then you should have kept Bill, because their offseason was exactly the same.
It was exactly the same.
It was
as what Bill
second and third tier players paying money to, signing your own second and third year players. You know, finally Jelani Tavai is getting some criticism, but he always gets the pass. Well, he's better on the edge. No, he's not. No, he's not better on the edge. Because I want you people to say that everybody who's writing on all these blogs and whatever that keeps saying he's playing out of position. Go back and watch the freaking tape of Jelani Tavai play on the edge. Watch him play in space. And you tell me if he makes any damn plays in space. Every once in a while he does, but there's always somebody there. There's always somebody there to seal so he can make that play. He never makes plays in space. He can't cover anybody. He's in quicksand. This is just an example of guys you signed that aren't good enough to even play in special teams, Mark.
And I'm so sick, Chris, because he's not on the field right now. All these people talking about, well, Bentley would have made a big difference. Bentley. How many times, Chris?
Since when can Bentley cover someone?
He couldn't.
No. And we're going to get to the play.
Ask this question real quick. The performances of these coaches and staff and players, does it warrant the question to say that maybe this was like a soft open to get rid of Bill in that way, and then go, all right, let all these players and coaches like apply for their position the whole season to, at the end of the season, now see what we truly need to change.
The problem with that, yeah, I get what you're saying, Joe. It's a good point. But the problem with that is you gave these guys multiple year deals. So this isn't like I'm signing you for a 1 year deal. If you don't do it, then we're cutting you.
Right.
Like, these guys all signed for multiple year deals. Mayo, you can't do that with your head coach and your GM. You can't say like, okay, we fired Belichick 1 year too soon. And so this is kind of a throwaway year for Gerard Mayo to get his feet wet. This is the NFL. This is now. This is today, here, and now. Nobody's got patience for let's build a 3-year program, a 4-year program. That doesn't exist anymore.
Well, but that's Chris. But that, Chris, is basically like even the beginning of the year when they were losing, Kraft indicated, well, this is going to be a multi-year rebuild. But that's what they indicated, Chris. Like because I don't think he wants to go spend the money on top-notch talent. He don't want to go spend money on a top-notch coach. It's win with a budget. And like the way this don't exist anymore. How he won with Belichick and Brady doesn't exist anymore. How many times did I have to be told that? Like, really? And I'm going to get into this a little later too. But how? Like, really? Does anybody there understand that don't work in 2024? It's never going to work again. That time in history is over. It's gone.
Well, that's what happens when you don't interview anybody. And we got to talk about the players. We're going to do it on the other side. But this portion of Pat's Preview is presented by the Pats Nation. Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're always the first pregame show for every Patriots game. And when the season ends, stick around because we're not going anywhere. We're going to be talking offseason, combine, draft, everything you want to know, all Patriots, all the time. But when we come back, going to stay in Pat's Preview. We're going to talk about the players. Who should we keep? Let's see. Stick around.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
I'll tell you what the Pats Nation thinks about that. They don't think too great about that. Back in with more Corso and Catone on a Sunday. Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. We switched up, didn't we?
We did.
Yesterday was the Pats Nation because it was the pregame show for the Chargers game. And here we are with on our Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk players, Mark. Let's talk players. And while Joe is queuing up I want to hear a little bit about Drake May. From his post game, because it kind of sets up what we want to talk about today with the wide receivers, O-line, and the defense a little bit.
Yep.
So Joe, you let me know when you're ready. But okay, let's hear it.
Drake, got to follow what Phil said. The fact that there were 14-point underdogs coming in, they're 11-3 or 3-11, a lot swirling around AVP this week, and even Gerard. How good was it for the team to come out and kind of send a message that you got the coaches' backs and you can go up and battle a team like that.
Just trying to block out that noise. I think it's a bunch of conversations about our coaching staff and stuff like that. I think it's some BS, to be quite honest. Coach Mayo, those guys. Coach Mayo's, we got, like I said, we got his back, and he's coached us hard. He wants to win. We all want to win. We're all frustrated. AVP's been, I feel calling great the past weeks. We're just plays away, and especially me turning the ball over. I think it's just a testament to these guys that keep fighting. We keep fighting. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're out of the race, and these guys keep coming in, and I'm frustrated when we don't score, and they got energy at practice, and they got energy coming to the game, and we want to win. There's guys not even playing that are yelling on the sidelines and wanting to win. So I think we're building something good, building something that feels right here, and I'm proud to be a Patriot.
Listen, and that was Drake May after the game. Mark, let me just say, okay, I love this guy. I think this guy's got everything you can want as far as physically, mentally, the way he is and leadership wise and all that. He's got his coach's back. He's saying all the right things. And yes, they are playing hard. I'm not going to, they could have just laid down to that, but they are playing hard for him. So I'll give Mayo that. And I'll give those guys that. And I want to get to the wide receivers, but the reason I wanted to play that is one, to show his leadership, but he should catch a little crap now, too. Okay, you're a rookie. I get it. You're a rookie, and nobody will give it to him. Nobody's going to give him any crap. Nobody's giving May.
So what would you
stop
give
turning
crap?
the ball
What would
over
you
in the
give
red
crap
zone?
for? Okay.
Stop throwing interceptions in the red zone. Okay, you got mobility. Take the sack. Throw the ball away. I love his aggressiveness. I love that he wants. But you know what? You've now thrown a lot of interceptions, and you've put the ball in jeopardy in scoring situations. They were down 3 in that Buffalo game, Mark. And he threw that pick. And I focus on that game because, one, because we're taping early before the Charger game, and 2, because it illustrates some of this. So, I appreciate that he takes the ownership of it when he gets into his press conferences. That's fine. But let's stop turning the ball over, Drake. Okay? Enough.
Yeah. Okay, so I got 2 things to say to that, right? So one, listen, he is a rookie, and you remember Peyton Manning's rookie year, he threw over 20.
Mayo's a rookie.
Mayo's
a rookie.
Yeah, Mayo's a rookie, but Mayo, Chris, isn't throwing one interception in a game. It's multiple mistakes in a game. If May was making as many mistakes as Mayo makes during a game, he'd be on the bench. Yeah. So, which is where Mayo belongs, on the bench. So anyway, he's a rookie, and Manning threw over 20 interceptions when he was a rookie. He had, he took his lumps as a rookie. And you're the one who has said many times in the past, Chris, the toughest position to play in any professional sport is quarterback, right? It's the toughest position to play in any professional sport is playing quarterback in the NFL. Okay, but to your point, you're going to learn from those mistakes, because now it's been like 5-6 games in a row where he's thrown an interception where you're like, okay. But the other piece I'm going to hop on, Chris, is coaching. So everyone keeps giving Van Pelt or McAdoo, whoever, credit for developing May. Okay, well, now this has been going on now for weeks. So what are you doing to develop him so that that's not happening? Because it seems to happen every week. So everyone wants to give them credit for getting May to this point. But now you got to get him over this hump of throwing these picks. And it doesn't seem like they're doing anything to do that either. So I'm going to go to the coaching on that too, Chris.
Let's be careful. Let's be careful not to give the coaches too much credit for something they may have done on his own, too.
Exactly.
Something and that may have been in him to begin with.
May have been in him. And I thought that was in him coming out of college, even though people thought I was crazy.
Give
our off season. Wait a minute. When we start our off season on Pat's Nation and we start talking players in the draft and we start our draft analyzation and preview, Chris and I have a track record. And we're usually not wrong too often when we say somebody's going to be good, even though people might be like, what the hell do they know? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I think we know a hell of a lot more than Elliott Wolf and that group that they got sitting at One Patriot Place. But so, Chris, I think
I would have to agree with him on that, Joe.
To your point, May had some of that in him already.
Yeah.
And the coaching really hasn't done anything, Chris, to help with that situation, I don't think, at all.
Well, no, I mean it's all about getting better. It's all about showing progress, like the Carolina Panthers. That's a team that's showing they're going somewhere. That's showing progress. We aren't. But now let's talk about some of these positions.
We're not, Chris, and
okay?
we're not.
No, let's talk about wide receiver. Okay, I want to know, in your opinion, who stays, who should stay, and then I want to know, how do we build this room? Free agency, draft, both. What do you got?
Okay, so
I mean, you
guess
keep
you're gonna-
telling how much we know. Let's test it out. What do we
Okay,
know?
We're going to test it out. So Butte has to stay, Chris.
Yeah.
Because, okay, against Buffalo, we had almost 100 yards, touchdown.
I wonder who said a couple of years ago, this
I
is the
took
guy
a
that we
flyer
should
on him in the
yeah,
sixth
on
round.
Butte.
I even said sixth round.
And I
Well,
wonder who
listen.
said last year, this guy needs to get on the field more. Go ahead.
Anyway, so I think he stays. I'm not saying he's a 1 or a 2.
No.
But when you look around the league, Chris, these teams that have good offenses have depth at the position. And they're guys that are 3s and 4s are making catches, catching touchdowns. He can be one of those guys for you. I think Demario Douglas can be one of those guys for you. I think those guys, Chris, would be great 3 and 4s. If you've got a real 1 and a real 2, there's nothing wrong with those guys. Bourne's going to go. Anybody else in that room's going to go. Baker, I don't know.
Don't know. I mean, he'll be
just
there
don't
because
know.
we just don't know.
I think you give him training camp, and if he doesn't show anything else in training camp, you get rid of him. I think he was just one of those guys. He's got potential in the draft, but he just can't do it. You get rid of him. Bring him back for training camp. You don't think he's showing the same stuff. You get rid of him. So really, it's only Douglas and Butte. The rest of the room's going to be replaced.
Well, I'll tell you this, when you're talking about, I agree with Butte. When you're talking about Douglas, okay. If you change the offense, see the problem.
Yes,
this kid could be electric if the offense was different. I just don't like this offense. This is my problem. I don't like this offense. I don't like it in Dallas. I don't like it in Cleveland. I don't like it here. I don't like it. So I'm not a fan of this 2 tight end type of set. I don't like it. So if you ran the type of offense Josh McDaniels runs, then I think Douglas will catch 100 balls. Yeah. So I agree with you those 2 guys. So you basically want to clear out the room. All right. So how do we replace it with who?
Well, you know who's going to catch 100 balls? Jackson Smith.
All right, let's talk about us right now. Will you please?
Okay.
So how you fill the room now?
I think you look into free agency and see what's out there. Everyone keeps talking about T. Higgins. Listen, T. Higgins is not a 1. T. Higgins looks good because he's playing next to one of the top 2 receivers in all of football, Jamar Chase. You and I could probably take some supplements and play next to Jamar Chase. I need a lot of supplements, right? But Chris, he's playing next to Chase. So Higgins is not a 1. So if you're going to go break the bank and try to bring Higgins in, that's fine. But you're getting a number 2 receiver at best. You're not getting a 1. So you still don't solve your problem as getting a 1 for May. I think you have to draft if he's on the board, and depending on where you end up in the draft order. I think you have to draft the kid Hunter from Colorado. And I know you say, Chris, he's a better corner than he is a receiver. And at this point, maybe he is. I don't know. He probably is. But he has so much damn potential, Chris, at wide receiver. He just makes plays. He's fast. If you watch him in a game, you're like, that kid can play. That kid can play, right? He can play receiver in the NFL. And he can play at a real high level, and he also can play corner at a real high level. But he claims he wants to play both in the NFL.
Let him.
Let him. I don't care. We stink. Why not? But you need a receiver like that, Chris. You have to draft him if he's there. You don't have a choice. I know you need a tackle.
Yeah,
but you got the most. You got the most money in free agency in the league.
Look, the 2 teams,
go get whatever tackles are out there.
The 2 teams that are going to want to draft quarterbacks are going to be the Giants and the Giants and the
Raiders.
Second team, the Raiders. And so
right now, Chris, we're sitting at 2 ahead of the Raiders.
So if you pop up, and again, in all disclosure, the Chargers game hasn't happened yet. We're recording before that. So when those teams are going to have to jump up. So let's say you end up with 1 or 2. Well, you could trade with one of those 2, get back and get a ton of picks, take Travis Hunter, and then get back up into the first round with all the stuff you just took. Okay? Get back into the first round and take your tackle. You're not going to listen, everybody out there, okay? Get the blinders off, because the Elliott Wolf and Groh right now have blinders on for tackle. They've been beat up about the offensive line so much that all they're looking at is tackle. And I'm hearing all these people and all these experts say, you gotta have the tackle. The offensive line is a mess. It's a mess. Look, listen to me, okay? You can get a starting left tackle late in the first round, in the second round. They're out there, okay? And we'll go through, when we do our draft stuff, we'll talk about it, combine stuff. They're there. And your quality wide receivers make the pass protection better. They make it better. They make it easier. The better receivers you have, the more separation they can get. Period. End of story. You cannot pass again. You can't again pass up on a number 1 wide receiver. You just can't keep doing that every year and draft your tackle and say, we're set. We're all set. Because all you people out there, if you draft a tackle in this draft, and you get the guy from LSU, okay, and you see next year that you're still 3 wins because you have no weapons, then you'll hear all the experts saying, well, it's a multi-year thing. No, it's not. No, it's not. You can fix this offense right now. Get a number 1, sign free agent tackles, draft better in the second round for tackles, and you're there. You're there. Period.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, you know who else was talking about the offensive line? Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. Joe?
Overall, for most of the game, I was pretty impressed with what the offensive line was doing, especially in terms of pass protection. I thought a lot of it was pretty good. I thought the Bills, sort of pressed the issue. They threw a bunch of different looks at the offensive line, and I would say for well over half a game, maybe three quarters of the game, they dealt with a lot of that stuff fine. There weren't a lot of free rushers in the game where they were doing the sort of things, dropping guys out, bringing guys into the same gap where, normally there would have been jailbreaks.
So Mark, and we spent a lot of time on the offense here. We really need to talk about defense. And that was Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal after the Buffalo Bills game. So that's my point. They didn't play bad. It wasn't terrible. What would have happened if they got a guy on the outside that had separation?
Oh yeah, it's going to obviously help. You need to spend less time protecting the quarterback because you're going to be able to get rid of the ball faster because somebody's going to be open. Absolutely.
So yes,
you've talked about that for a while, Chris.
Yes, you need tackles. Yes, Jacobs isn't going to get it done. Lowe is not going to get it done. Yes, you need a better center. Got it. But you also need a wide receiver. Now, Mark, looking at the defensive side of the ball, okay? They're ranked in the low 20s, roughly in every area, okay? Who stays on this? I mean, defensive line, I want to clear them all out at this point. But for the defensive line, they're small.
Bondmore, that's it.
Bondmore, Godchow,
I guess.
To me,
well,
they get
Keon
run on
White,
too much.
I think Keon White, Chris.
Well, he's more to me an end and an outside
okay.
guy, know.
Yeah.
But yes, Keon White, Dietrich. But when you start talking about these guys, Dietrich Wise, it's enough now.
Listen, Chris.
Like it's enough.
Yeah, it's enough.
How long are you going to keep getting gashed against the run? Be undersized. You can't play 2-gap with any of these guys, with any of them, Mark, because they just don't have the size to do it.
Yeah.
So you need that kind of help. You need a lot more defensive help than you need offensive help. Believe me. Okay. The linebackers. Who? Keon White, if you consider him a linebacker.
But Chris, when you watch these other teams around the NFL, like if you watch Green Bay, if you watched, any of these teams around the NFL, their linebackers are fast, quick. It's like you're watching a different type of football than when you're watching the Patriots. It's ridiculous the lack of talent that we have at linebacker when you look at these other teams and how the linebackers play.
Go watch Baltimore play
defense.
And look, do they have more? Do they have more talent than what they're showing right now? Yes, they do. And that's coaching. So the DC's we got to upgrade the DC too. But at the linebacking spot, look, Jennings can play better with better coaching. I'll give you that. Okay. But Tavai, McMillan, Ellis,
Chris, that whole room's going to get wiped out.
Taki.
And I know they're in love with Bentley. Okay, you want to keep Bentley, fine, keep him. I know they're in love with Bentley.
None of them
reason.
are
No.
They're not good enough across the board. Not good enough, and they put stress on the defensive back. I think the defensive backfield's better than people think they are. That's the group. If you said to me, "Where's the group that's underperforming but has more talent?" I'll tell you it's in the defensive backfield. Okay, because those guys aren't getting any help underneath at all. Mm-hmm. There's nobody that can cover underneath. I thought Mapu, when they stuck him back at free against when they benched Peppers in the Buffalo, I thought he played great. Yeah. I thought his reads were good. I thought he got across the field well. No problem there. Duggar's had a down year. Jonathan Jones finally woke up. The point I'm making is they got enough in the secondary to me. You got to get another corner. You got to get that outside. You got to get that opposite corner. I got it. Travis Hunter can spell that, though.
Yeah, he can. He can.
But you got to get better in the inside. The inside of the defense is the problem. That's the biggest problem, period, end of story. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's our preview. And so stick around as we move forward, because we're going to be talking combine. We're going to be talking offseason, free agency, everything you can think of. We'll have it here. But Pat's preview was presented by Corso Law Group, corsolawgroup.com. Hey, we come back. The silly season, is it over or is it still going? I don't know. Let's see what Mark has to say. Catone's comments is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to corsolawgroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's comments!
Listen, I told you it was going to be a two-part Catone's comments today, and it's going to be a two-part Catone's comments. I have to keep it two parts. I have to, because I got to continue something about the Patriots that Chris and I didn't get to, but I got to bring it up because it's driving me out of my mind. And then I'm going to get to the silly season because, of course, I got to get to the silly season. So, listen, the Patriots, whether or not you believe it or not, have become one of the worst franchises in the NFL. Okay, listen, according to the Boston Sports Journal this past week, they're making phone calls. Listen, just listen to this, please. They're making phone calls, checking on Gerard Mayo's references from last year. Excuse me? You hired him as your head coach? He's been the coach for a year. You're checking on his references? Who are you going to call? Bill? Who are you calling to check if Mayo can do this job? This is the most idiotic stupidity I think I've ever heard. It's a new low for Kraft and this for Bob Kraft and the Sun that you're actually doing that. And listen, this is coming from pretty reliable source people that this is going on. Okay, the organization lacks vision. There's no structure. It's chaos. They don't know what they're doing. They're taking notes of games in the owner's booth. Like this is what losing teams do. And Chris mentioned this earlier in the year. He said, Mark, they're going to become the Cleveland Browns. And you know what? They're becoming the Cleveland Browns. They're going to ruin Drake May because that's what losing organizations do. They're going to keep this buffoon, and I'm going to say it, and I don't care what anybody says. This coach is a buffoon. I don't care if he's a nice guy. He has no business being a coach in the National Football League in 2024, and he should have never been hired. He needs experience somewhere else, and maybe he'll be ready for the challenge. But he's not ready for the challenge of being a professional head coach in 2024. Let's take the blinders off. Let's talk the truth here. Let's talk the truth. Okay, Chris and I, yeah, we're fans just like you, but we dance. We dance the line too. We dance it. Who are we kidding? We have to dance the line. This guy has no business being a head coach. Let's call a spade a spade. If we're being honest with ourselves and we're looking in the mirror, the whole coaching staff needs to be thrown to the curb, pack their bags, get them a box of Joe, and say, see you later. And I don't mean Joe in a booth. I mean a nice hot cup of coffee for the ride out of here. That's what they need. I never heard of dysfunction. Dysfunction like I've heard of with this team. You've gone through a full season, and now you're checking on this guy? Are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? It's a joke. It's an absolute
making
joke.
a list. They're checking it twice.
Yeah, they're checking it twice, all right. Yeah, they're on the naughty list. That's for damn sure. Craft in the sun.
Mark,
Now,
wait, before you get the other part, okay? Can I say something? I gotta ask because I don't want to set him there more than he is. Or say something because they don't have a manager. They don't have somebody that's playing the GM role. They don't know what they're doing. They let Bill do everything. They don't have a friggin' GM that can pick a coach. They did it all wrong.
Yeah,
they did it all backwards and wrong and upside down. And
after Catone's comments, when you give me your comments, we'll talk about that.
All right, go ahead.
Talk about that. All right. So, listen, the silly season is upon us also, and the holidays are here. And those of you, I don't know what you celebrate, whether you celebrate, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, you celebrate Christmas, and in me personally, I celebrate Christmas. It's holidays. Everybody celebrates something different if you choose to or not. But for Christmas, okay, listen, we have traditionally at my house we have like a nice prime rib. We have that. We have it's we're Italian by ethnic and we do certain things. We have antipasto. We there's certain things that we do on Christmas that we have, right? So we have this beautiful prime rib. My wife buys way too much prime rib. You could feed the neighborhood with it, but that's fine. So now we have a couple people come over, and there were some people that came that don't typically come, but they came. Our house is open to everybody, whatever, right? So the prime rib comes out. We let it cool a little bit. I'm gonna cut it. I'm cutting the ribs off. The bottom, so you can actually cut this normally, like you should cut a prime rib. And I got somebody telling me how I should cut the prime rib, and I'm looking at it, and he's a guest in my home. And I want to say to him, listen, you're lucky it's going to turn into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I'm going to chase him with the knife and I'm going to see to shut your mouth before it becomes a massacre in here. And my wife's looking at me like, be nice, be nice. I want to put the apron on like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and gouge him because he can't shut his mouth. Now, listen, so I do all of that. I cut it nice, comes out nice. Now, before we got to that, we put up, we have a nice huge antipasto we put out. So another person says, oh, what is that? A charcuterie. I don't even know what the hell you call those boards. They make charcuterie. I don't even know what the hell they are. I said, no, it's an antipasto. What? Charcuterie. What is wrong? No, it's an dinosaur. That's what we make on Christmas. There's no charcuterie. I don't even know what the hell you call this stuff. I don't even know what it is, Chris. I don't know, right? So now we do all that, and then you bring out the dessert. Everybody has a comment. Listen, shut your mouth. You're in someone's home. The food is good. I have more than enough food. I could feed a homeless shelter with all the damn food that we have and desserts and drinks. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But if I'm a guest in someone's home, I'm not going to tell them how you cut the prime rib. I'm not going to make comments about what's being served. Listen, shut your mouth, gag. I don't care if you end up on the floor gagging. Shut your mouth, okay? Shut it, okay? Just shut your mouth. Eat it, enjoy it. It's good. Like I just don't get it, Chris. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Joe. First of all, before Joe goes, we don't promote any type of violence on Corso.
I'm not promoting violence. I'm not.
Go ahead, Joe. I can't stop laughing.
Oh man, but the human race just going down the toilet. You know what I mean?
He's so right, though.
It comes down to manners and those sort of things that you just don't see at all anymore.
Next year, you should feed the homeless shelter. Then do it.
Chris, you do the
like
same
that.
thing.
Right,
The amount of food you probably had on Christmas, it's ridiculous.
We had all the exact same
thing. Right?
They had the same thing too, right? The antipasta, the lasagna, we had all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no shortage of experts in my house too when they were here.
This year they didn't want to do lasagna, so they want to do manigot. So they do the manigot.
We had that last year. Yeah.
We had but still, Chris, how much food can you eat?
No, I mean, listen, I have to ask Joe. I know Joe wants to know this too because we ask you this every year. Because let's face it, every year you do. You this is pretty much the same complaint.
Same complaint, different food option.
That's why it's the silly season.
Who are these people?
Listen, I can't say on air. Listen, I
know a lot of people.
On air to offend anyone.
And I'm wondering.
I can't say on air to offend anyone. I can't offend anyone.
Say Mark's poor wife. She hurt her arm or shoulder, something, had to have some surgery. And so she's got like one arm over here working on all this.
Oh, that doesn't even, I didn't even get into me rolling out cookies during the Patriot game.
You don't think this clown's any help? He said to me, I'm making, during the Buffalo game, he tells me, I said, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making Rogoth cookies. I said, what the hell are you? What do you know about making cookies? He's making cookies, Joe.
I was helping my wife and daughter.
Nice guy, though. He's helping.
Oh,
very helpful. Very helpful.
You should have given him those cookies you made. Then maybe they leave. Let me ask you something. How were they telling you to cut it? Like, what were they telling you?
He didn't understand why I was taking the bone off.
First, the bone off first?
First, to slice it. He's telling me that's where all the juice is. Why are you cutting that off? He said, just cut. I said, what? What are you talking about?
The juice has already been it's
already
been penetrated into the meat already.
There was so much. He said the bone gives it flavor, blah blah. Chris, if you could have saw the juice in this thing, I gotta give my wife credit.
That happens when you're cooking
perfectly.
It.
Yes,
that happens when you're cooking it, not after.
She cooked it perfectly. I have to give her credit. But this guy's telling me, why are you cutting the bone, Chris?
Yes. You know what? You have to take the bone off first, and then have one flat, straight piece of meat, and now you cut it nice and thin, and all that, and
well, that's the other thing.
You should have let him. You should have let him just gnaw on it, like the
Chris.
Like
you don't
animal.
take the bone off. What are you gonna have? Chunks of meat? Like how are you gonna chew the meat? Like you can't cut it thin if you don't take those off.
I'm not sure what people are. I'm not sure. Yeah, Mark, I'm just dying to next year. I think I may come back there and have Christmas Day with you with a notebook and a pen.
And charcuterie hour.
Yeah, maybe Joe. Maybe you can just set me up live, and I'll be by myself watching all this.
Do the people at your house refer to it as charcuterie?
I really don't know what you're talking about. What the hell are you talking
about? Joe might know.
The same dish. It's basically the same dish, just charcuterie.
They put it on these wooden boards.
Is the Italian version, and it's basically the same exact dish.
Yes, antipasto is the Italian version.
Peppers and everything.
Well, no, I'm saying the style of dish it is.
Yes.
Of a plating of cheeses and meats or olives, whatever, like something pre. Pasta meal basically is all it means. Charcuterie is the French version of that.
But that out here, Chris, every restaurant you go to, Joe, right? They all got it on the menu now.
Yeah. Oh
all these restaurants you go to out here, Chris, if it's a decent place where you're eating, they all got these, and that's part of the appetizer is this.
I don't go
these
to
boards, right?
I don't
bring it
go
out
out to
on a wooden
restaurants
board.
because I don't like people. So
We're
I
trying
know
to
you
keep
don't.
you guys in the house these days.
yeah. No, just sit down, shut up, and eat it. You know. Right?
You're worse than me. At least
Hey, I
don't
make
tell them sit down,
I
shut
make
up,
the
and eat it.
antipasto. I do
Yeah.
it. I pickle my pepper. I pickle my own peppers like in October.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize
This
that.
guy he got the recipe. He did. We have a family member who does that, and she takes her time and
but I've been doing it for like what 25 years. I've been
time. It was a big deal because it was a long time with that ingredients list would not leave the hands.
Couldn't get it.
Couldn't get it.
No, yeah, I do, and so I handle the whole first course. I do the antipasto. I put I don't put the meat in the. I know your mother does, Joe, but I don't put the meat in the actual plate of the antipasto. I separate it on different plates. So I put the prosciutto on a platter. I put the either salami or supersada on a platter, and then I make the antipasto with the peppers and the olives and the things and all that in one platter. You know what I mean?
You know what? Technically,
the
way my mother makes it. Technically, the way my mother makes it, she puts it actually as a salad, makes it in a salad.
Yeah, exactly.
And
she does. She rolls it.
Growing up, I would think, oh, that's the antipasto, and seeing like the charcuterie board, I'd be like, no, that's not it, and I'd be wrong. You know what I mean? Because the version that my mother made is not the technical version.
The technical. Who the hell cares what the technical? Mark, you need to kick all these friggin' people out of your house.
I'm talking.
Just get rid of them.
Because you two idiots are trying to figure out what charcuterie means.
I don't care. Listen, just get these people. I'm gonna. You know what? When we get finished with this show, I'll call your wife. We'll have a discussion about the next year. You need to call me with the guest list first. And then,
So listen. So
listen, my house is open to everyone. Close it.
As one of the people leaves with, I can't even tell you. I have to tell you on the phone. I can't even tell you.
The guest list is like the Patriots, application form for the staff. They're like, oh, bring him in first, and then we'll review it afterwards.
It's like the draft, It's like the
draft.
That's good stuff, Mark. Listen, it's the silly season, but it's not over because next week we got New Year's next week, and I'm sure.
You'll end up. There'll be a story. You run around with fireworks. You with a
I bought fireworks this year.
Great combination, Joey. Runs around with fireworks and this huge bottle of champagne in his hand. Great combination, Joe.
Oh, perfect.
Don't try this at home.
No, don't do that at home, please.
Tone's
please
comment
don't do that at home.
Was presented by the Pats Nation Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're usually the first pregame show for the Patriots games. And after the season's over, stick around because we'll have it all. Combine, free agency, draft, just things that piss us off about the Patriots and also make us happy. So make sure you're tuning into that. But when we come back, going to talk hot stove topics, going to talk Yankees versus Red Sox. No flipping.
Sundays are for football. And here in New England, that means it's the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone.
You have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League.
This is why the Patriots need us in the draft room. Let's see what the Pats Nation thinks about that, Mark.
Starting June 30th, Sundays, 8 to 9 a.m. on 790 The Score.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. All right, we're up against it, so let's get the Yankees, Red Sox, and a PC minute. Joe? Okay, Mark, let's get into it. Who do you want to start with? After you unmute.
Sorry, we'll start with the Red Sox because you got me all excited last segment. So we'll start with the Red Sox because their big thing was when they went after Soto was, we're going to spend money. We're doing whatever it's going to take to win. So they've signed basically 4 pitchers and nobody else in free agency. They signed Adelis Chapman for basically nothing. That cheap. They went and traded for Garrett Crochet, however you pronounce his last name. They gave up prospects, but he's not making a lot of money yet. He's going to in a couple of years when he becomes a free agent. Maybe he'll make a couple of $100 million, but he's not right now. Okay. Then they went and signed Patrick Sandoval, who is a left-hander coming off Tommy John surgery, has potential, cheap option. And then they went and signed Walker Buehler, who killed us in the World Series from the Dodgers. He was hurt pretty much all year last year, but they signed him to a 1-year deal, $21 million. It's almost like a prove-it deal, and then you can go out and get your money the following season. So the Red Sox have not spent any money on any of these signees, Chris. All cheap money. There was no market for Walker Buehler. That's why he signed a 1-year contract. Figures if he comes up big for the Red Sox, and it's a good deal for the Red Sox, $21 million, a couple of million, I think, in incentives if he meets certain benchmarks during the course of the year. But they didn't go out and spend all that money they claimed they were spending. Now, rumor is, they're in on Bregman. They're in on a couple of other guys. That'll cost money. But, Chris, it's January 1st in a week, and they've done nothing. No money has been spent. They've gotten team-friendly money deals, typical Red Sox, and you said that was going to happen. Typical Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Red Sox fan, you're thinking, oh, they were in on Soto, so therefore they're going to take that $700 million, and they're just going to, go out there and get everybody. Well, who? Then I hear crickets.
Yes. And the guys they've signed, Chris, like I said, they have potential of doing well, but they're all low budget guys. They haven't spent a lot of money on anybody. Yankees,
so it's going to be the same old. It's going to be the same old then for the.
Oh yeah, and they have the potential, Chris, of having a real good pitching staff, but it's still the same old Red Sox. I mean, I don't think they've done enough unless they sign some guys over the next couple of weeks. They still haven't done enough, I don't think, to get over the hump in the American League. The American League's too tough. Yankees, on the other hand, after they pivoted from Soto, they go trade for Corey Bellinger. Can play different positions, can play the outfield. They go and sign a first baseman. They go and sign Goldschmidt.
I want to talk about Goldschmidt in a second. Go ahead.
From St. Louis. They signed a pitcher. Okay. They go and trade for the pitcher, Max Fried from Atlanta, a Cy Young potential type of a guy. He'll be number 2 behind Cole in that rotation. You've got potentially one of the best rotations in the American League. Okay. You go and trade for the best closer in baseball. The kid Devin Williams from Milwaukee, in my opinion, is the best closer in baseball. So now you've solidified the back end of that bullpen. You can use the kid that closed last year and make him the setup man again, which is where he's better suited. You got to get a couple of guys for the middle of the rotation, but you pick those guys up cheap later in free agency.
What do you think of they trade Trevino in that 3-team deal for Cruz, Jackson? I mean, these are all pieces.
They got some pitching depth. So that helps with pitching depth. But
talk about Goldschmidt for a minute.
But Chris, before we get to Goldschmidt, real quickly, they supposedly are still in on Nolan Arenado, the third baseman, in a trade, perhaps, because Goldschmidt's like real good friends with him, and they're supposedly in on Bregman still.
How about Walker?
So they could still potentially bring the Walker they're out on because they're running Goldschmidt for a 1-year deal only. 1 year only.
That's what I wanted to say.
Walker signed with Houston. Go ahead, Chris. On Goldschmidt.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. Is I would have rather see them play for Walker and not. I mean, Goldschmidt was good. Yes, he was, and he had big years. But I think that's on the downside now of that. I would have rather seen a Walker deal. You?
Yes, but I do think, Chris, that money may be being saved if they bring in an Arenado or a Bregman, which if they bring them in, Chris, one of those guys, they have a better lineup 1 through 9 than they had last year with Soto.
Well, we'll see if that gets them over the top, having to beat the Dodgers. Mark, with the half a minute we got left, talk about PC just a little bit. Providence.
They've had a bad start, Chris. Coaching's in question. English, listen, this is the Big East, pal. This isn't the Atlantic 10. Last year he got lucky, Chris. He inherited Devin Carter, who becomes a lottery pick, and he saved his behind on a lot of nights. And the guy that he had, a 5th, 6th year guy that transferred from George Mason with him, those guys saved him last year. They're gone. These guys, though, are his guys. Even the ones that were left over from Cooley, he convinced them to stay.
Give me
Chris, they don't have a scorer down the stretch you can get the ball to in a close game. Hopkins, supposed to be an all Big East guy, played in a couple of games, coming off an ACL. His knee's been sore. He's not playing. Who knows what he's going to give you moving forward? Rumor is the family don't want him rushed back to re-injure the knee. It might be a long season for the PC. Long season.
All right. Well, we'll be tracking it all together. But Corso and Catone was presented by the Pats Nation, Sundays, 8 a.m. Eastern. Hey, next Sunday, we're going to preview that final game against the Bills and come back next weekend, noon Eastern. We'll break down some of that Chargers game and talk about some other things, Corso and Catone. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal New England Field. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody.
Now find Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.